devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
the sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, if Montreal Canadiens fans were nervous last night, suffice to say that they are very, very nervous tonight. Look at my hair. I don't even know what's going on with it. But anyway, yeah, folks, the Columbus Blue Jackets, they won. They went into Philadelphia, and they beat the Philadelphia Flyers by a score of 3-0, to be honest, the way I thought they would. This team is on a mission. I know you don't want to hear this, but they are. And I know it won't mean anything if the Canadiens can take care of business tomorrow night, but the Columbus Blue Jackets, we'll take a look at the standings in just a second, but they are behind the Montreal Canadiens, and it comes down to the final wild card spot. If the Canadiens get a point tomorrow night, the Montreal Canadiens will qualify for the playoffs. The Canadiens are 2 points ahead of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And if Columbus gets 2 points, they go to 89. And if Montreal gets 1 point, Montreal goes to 90. So an overtime loss by the Canadiens or a win by the Canadiens tomorrow night versus the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Canadiens are in. Columbus will host the New York Islanders. I don't know if the Montreal Canadiens are going to beat the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow night. Based on the way Columbus has been playing as of late, I think it's pretty safe to say, or I got a pretty good feeling that the Columbus Blue Jackets will beat the New York Islanders. There's a lot of pressure on the Montreal Canadiens right now, but there could be some good news as far as the lineup for the team that they're going to go up against. It is the Sick Podcast, and it's brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by Playground, the Moneymaker Tour, is coming to Playground. Playground is set to host the Moneymaker Tour from May 7th to May 20th with over $1.4 million in guarantees. This is your chance to experience world-class poker alongside the tour's namesake, 2003 WSOP main event champion Chris Moneymaker. But that's not all. Chris Moneymaker himself will be at Playground playing in events and hosting an exclusive meetup game on Saturday, May 17 at 4 p.m. where you can take a seat and battle with the legend. It's Playground Poker. Experience the strip without the trip, just over the Mercier Bridge. It's Playground. Without further ado, he's a regular usually on Monday nights, but of course last night the Montreal Canadiens played, so Eric Engels was working for Sportsnet, sportsnet.ca. Eric, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm in a terrible mood tonight. Just in a terrible mood.
All right, let's
I lost my
perspective here. I'd like to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the start of the season. If I had told you at the start of the season that the Canadiens would go into Game 82 with something to lose, you would have said what?
Oh, that's not why I'm in a terrible mood. I'm in a terrible mood because I lost my hockey pool in the second last night of the season. That's why I'm in a terrible mood. Yeah.
All right.
There's 15,000 reasons why I'm upset tonight, by the way.
Let's pretend that the real reason you were in a bad mood is more representative of why Canadiens fans are in a bad mood tonight. And
I need you to be my psychologist tonight. I'm going to repeat what I just said. There's 15,000 reasons why I'm upset tonight.
Well, let's start with the main one.
Yeah.
Or at least the second one, since you gave me the main one.
The main one would be 15,000, yeah.
It's okay, Tony. You'll get them next year.
Yeah.
What about second place? No. Get something for second place?
Yeah, I think it pays like your entry type of thing. No, I can't believe what just we've been in the lead for the last 2.5 months. We've been in the lead for the last 2.5 months of the pool.
You know, there's only one thing to do, right?
What is there to do?
I don't know. Is there some sort of prop bet where you could bet $15,000 on a Demidov point tomorrow?
Yeah, no, it's but I guess there is. Yeah, I guess.
Okay, let's get to the Canadiens.
All right, let's get to it. Okay,
I think
so
there's a lot of
Columbus
Canadian fans that are in a
business.
terrible mood right now. So,
So
Sam,
go back to what you were
lost
saying.
5 points. What's going on here? Have you lost?
We lost.
Okay,
We
Sammy,
lost.
I don't want to kill your optimism. Tony's is clearly
We
dead.
lost. The team behind us has Caulfield, Suzuki, Patrick Liney, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and Matthew Nyes, and we have nobody tomorrow night. We lost. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. So you
Yeah.
you think those guys on the Habs are going to light it up tomorrow?
They'll get points.
All right. Well, that's a good omen, I think.
Yeah.
Getting back to it. If I told you
Yeah.
at the beginning of the season, if you put yourself in the shoes of the most anxious Canadiens fan right now, that they would
Yeah.
have something to lose going into game 82, you would have said what?
I would have said I'll take it.
You would have said the rebuild is on track at the very least and probably a little ahead of schedule, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I thought the Canadiens would be right around it. I thought it would come down right to the end. And the reason I chose them to make the playoffs at Sportsnet was kind of half jokingly because if they were going to be right around it, it would be more fun to pick them to make the playoffs because nobody would be picking them to make the playoffs. They'd say they would just miss. And then I'd be the only one who predicted it, and maybe I'd end up looking like a genius. There's a chance I'm not going to look like one. That's okay. Wouldn't be the first time. I also predicted they'd finish ahead of the Ottawa Senators. And don't worry, Senators fans, if you're out there listening, my mea culpa is coming on that one. I just want to see where it all ends up, after game 82 and how close the margin is that the Canadiens can make it. Look, I think if you put yourself in the shoes of the players, of Marty and everything like that, like I know everybody's disappointed. They've had 3 chances to clinch. They haven't done it yet. They have another golden opportunity tomorrow. And they weren't going to win 10 games in a row to get it done. They won 6 in a row to put themselves in that position to begin with. They've lost 3 in a row where they played a terrible game in Ottawa. They played a really good game in Toronto where it's a 0-0 game that somebody decides on a 3-on-3 overtime. And they couldn't, the pressure really finally got to them on Monday against Chicago. They could not find a way to play their style of game. And it wasn't a lack of effort. They were working their asses off. They just weren't working smart enough to establish the deep game. Chicago's counterattack was incredible. They were so fast, so skilled. A lot of players in that lineup that you could see a bright future for. Has Montreal taken one more critical lesson from this season that enables them to put this thing over the goal line tomorrow, to put this into the end zone? We're going to find out.
Look, I think Carolina's going to rest their 4 best players tomorrow. I think Carolina will rest Aho. I think they'll rest Seth Jarvis. I think they'll rest Brent Burns. I think they'll rest Jacob Slavin.
That's 4 players coming in that get a chance to play in the NHL, in the Bell Center, with an opportunity to rob the Canadiens of a chance to go to the playoffs. It's
okay. I understand.
It can't be a thing that the Canadiens vote. I know the fans want to hear it. Maybe it's a consolation for them.
Yes,
but if the Canadiens are focused on that, they're going to end up in a pretty similar situation than when they found themselves.
I understand that, but they'd rather
wouldn't be that bad because they made it to overtime, and that's all they need to do tomorrow.
I get you. They'd rather face those 4 American Hockey League players than face Jacob Slavin and Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis. And why are Jarvis and Aho going to sit? Yes, you guessed it, because they're in my hockey pool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Oh my God.
Hey, Tony, but what has this season taught us? I mean, many seasons have taught us this lesson, but over and over again, if this season has taught us one thing, it's that whatever you think is going to happen is probably not what's going to happen. And if you think there's a freebie game on the schedule because one team is ahead of the other in the standings, I mean, it's just a ridiculous way of thinking. Go back a year ago, the Canadiens were playing Detroit, who was desperate to make it and ended up losing on a tiebreaker, and they gave them everything they had. And the Canadiens were not a good team last year. They were a team that anybody would have circled and said, well, this is a win tonight.
Yeah.
So this is the way this sport is. We saw the race in the standings this year. Now it's come down to 2 teams. like I said at the beginning of the year, is 5 really good teams in the NHL and 20 teams that there is virtually very little separating any of them, no matter what it looks like on paper. Like,
I hear you. The only thing that bothers me is I really have not at all liked the Canadiens in the last 10 days. They
I think all those games are different.
They were not convincing versus Philadelphia at home. They were down 2-1, if memory serves me well, and Lane Hudson ties it up at 2 a couple of minutes into the third period. They weren't able to get away from Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is not the most difficult team in the world to play against. They went into Nashville the night after that. Jakub Dobiš stole the game. They had no business winning that game. They won by a score of 2-1. They come back at home a couple of days later. They play Detroit. I don't think they touched the puck in the first period, and I think they gave up 20-something shots. You correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory could be off here. But I think they gave up 23 shots in period number 1. Montembeault stopped 22 of them. On Friday, I think they laid just an egg in Ottawa. They weren't ready.
That was a bad one. That was a truly bad game. Yeah.
On Saturday, they battled. On Saturday, they battled. They dug deep. A lot of people are going to say they had 8 shots going into the third period or whatever. They played against a team that I think played a fantastic hockey game and took away the neutral zone. And, the Canadiens just, they tried to keep it close. They lost 1-0, but obviously Toronto was much, much better than the Canadiens. Yesterday, they get out to a 2-0 lead. I think they took Chicago for granted. I think they took a couple of bad penalties that they shouldn't have taken, that Chicago made them pay. They played too open at times. They made some bad play selections, some bad decisions. They opened up. Chicago made them pay again. And so I would take everything you said from the beginning of the season. My prediction was going into the season, Canadiens will miss a playoff spot by 2 points. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope they win tomorrow night and they make it. I would take this scenario, yes, at the beginning of the season. To answer your question, I would. Mm-hmm. But I just haven't liked the way they've played in the last 10 days when it's the most important time of the season. You have your destiny in your hands. You would have won yesterday in regulation. You would have taken care of business, and they didn't. And I don't know. And I still haven't got over last night, by the way. I'm very, very upset with Marty today. I'm very upset. With him.
I'm sure we can get to that. Look, they won 6 games in a row to put themselves there. Like,
that's true.
This is the way this league goes. Began the season as the second youngest team in the NHL. Some things changed in between, and now they're back to being that. Like, Kapanen's in the lineup. Demidov is here. And they're just young and learning pretty pivotal lessons at this point. Now, Marty himself said the learning's over. The results are what count now. And he's right. The Canadiens have something to lose. I think it's huge progress for them that they were even put in that position where they would have something to lose. But that doesn't mean that fans shouldn't be upset if they lose it. I mean, you want to take this thing to the next. You know that the experience already has been so rich for all these players that have taken part in this and driven this thing. You know that it would be that much richer if they make it into the playoffs of their own volition, take care of their own business, especially against Carolina, which is a good hockey team that they played great against this season. You know, they had their last game was a tough loss in Carolina, but they fixed their defensive game and then won their next game and got on the run to the 6-game winning streak. They had a 4-0 win over Carolina at the Bell Center, where Carolina was not playing its best, but they took care of that business, playing really good hockey. I just think, this team has found a way when its back has been against the wall several times this year. Like, forget about it at the beginning of the season. If I had told you on November 15th they'd be in this position when they were 32nd in the NHL at 5-10-2 and they couldn't stop themselves from shooting themselves in the foot, I think you would have said, there's no way, you're insane, and I would bet my entire mortgage against them. Mm-hmm. So, like, there is some perspective needed in the situation, but you could also throw the perspective out and just be a fan and hope that they do what they're supposed to do given the position that they're in, that they have missed on 3 great opportunities and they still have one more, thankfully, because they put themselves in that spot.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Bittt TV. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the nice spring days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Eric, I'll give you credit. I remember talking to you going into the season, and I said, what do you think? And you told me you thought that Marty St. Louis would be up for the Jack Adams. 1 month into the season, that wasn't looking good on you, and now here we are, and he is in contention for the coach of the year. There's no doubt about it with Scott Arniel of the Winnipeg Jets and, of course, Carberry with the Washington Capitals. Having said that, there's something that really upset me yesterday. And I guess you see me coming from a mile away. I don't understand.
It could be a number of things.
I don't understand why Demidov wasn't in the shootout yesterday. And just hear me out.
Yeah.
There's one thing about
that he was supposed to be fourth, though, right?
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't. Okay. I don't care because you don't. If you don't get the 4, it doesn't really matter, right? So, I know that you have some teams have a pecking order, some teams have veterans, and Marty can justify himself by saying that he played his, prior to Demidov's arrival, he had his top 3 offensive players out there yesterday for the shootout, including his top point getter, including his top goal scorer, and including his second best goal scorer on the team. I understand all of that. I'm one that, for me, you have to go with your gut, and you have to go with who's in the moment and who's playing well. Frank Nazar was the first shooter for the Chicago Blackhawks yesterday because he was riding a hot stick. He was on his game, and that's why. And I look at Demidov, who for me was the best Montreal Canadiens player by far. It wasn't even close. I thought he was on the other side of the street last night, waiting for everyone to catch up. And he comes in. He's got the moment means a lot to him because the anticipation. He gave the fans what they wanted, and I can't guarantee you they would have scored a goal with the first shot. I can't guarantee you that. We don't know what would have happened. What we do know is that the shooters that did shoot did not score. We know that. What we also know is that Nick Suzuki is 0 for 5 in the shootout. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have made Nick Suzuki shoot. We also know that the goalies in the National Hockey League, they don't have a scouting report on Demidov on shootouts unless they're watching footage from the KHL. I was very disappointed. Everyone in the building wanted to see him shoot as well, and he didn't. I wasn't happy. I really was.
I get it. And I think everybody has the right to be unhappy about it. The result is what matters, right? And the result is they went 0 for 3 in the shootout. Now, I have to ask you, if you had been told in advance that the 3 shooters that are going to start this thing for Montreal are Suzuki, Caulfield, and Laine, or Caulfield, Suzuki, Laine in that order, and I told you you've got $100 to bet, are you betting on all 3 of them not scoring? Or are you betting on at least one of them scoring?
I understand your question, and I want to answer it. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to say this.
I'm not defending the decision, by the way. I agree.
I need
totally fair to criticize it, but I'm asking you that question.
Would you not have chosen Demidov last night? I don't want to escape your question. I'll answer it if you want me to. My money is that one of them would have scored.
I would like you to answer the questions.
My money is that one of them would have scored. There were 21,000 fans yesterday that wanted to see Demidov shoot. Demidov wanted to shoot.
Yes.
He was their best player in the game by far, and he didn't make him shoot. And my feeling is he didn't make him shoot because, I don't know, I find that in the last week, the second anyone's talked about Demidov, Marty's very defensive. It's like he doesn't want to say too much. It's like
no. Hold up. We're going off. We're going off here. Hold on.
Okay.
If he didn't want Demidov to shoot, he definitely wouldn't have chosen him 4th to go on the ice because that was in a position to win the game, especially if, like him, like you, and like me, we would think that with Caulfield, Suzuki, and Laine shooting, at least one of them is going to put the puck in the net. And the chances are good that Montembeault is going to keep the shootout alive with 1 goal for Demidov to get a chance to potentially win the game. So I don't think this is something against Demidov. It is totally fair to criticize him for that decision. It is totally fair to criticize him for the decision to not move Demidov onto a top unit of the power play as they sputtered out to an 0-3 start on the power play and extended that run to 0-16 on the power play in their last 8.5 games. And, wake up at practice today and there's been no changes to the power play. So I get all the criticism lobbed at Marty St. Louis.
But that's the whole pecking order thing again. Like he did that with Lane Hudson for the first 2 months of the season. Like everyone wanted Lane Hudson on the first wave.
I think Marty wants to win the game more than anybody, and I don't think he's sitting there saying, but pecking order or not, I'll give you another example here, okay?
Eric, in 3 shifts, he showed the Montreal Canadiens fan base that he's a better hockey player than Slavkovsky and Laine, and he can help the power play more.
He also,
the Chicago Blackhawks yesterday took away Patrick Laine's shot on the power play, and he looked lost. He didn't know what to do. He didn't even move.
I have more of a if it were me, I would have put Demidov on the first unit of the power play.
Okay, I agree with you.
After the first blown power play, I would have put Demidov on the first unit. I might have taken Laine off and shifted Caulfield into Laine's position and kept Slavkovsky where he was, because one of my main observations from last night's first period was that look who showed up. Like, I don't think it was a coincidence at all that Slavkovsky was playing his best game in a couple of weeks now that Demidov was finally in the lineup. Like, you saw it immediately, his engagement right from the first shift, the hit that he threw on Ryan Donato. You could tell he was into the game. He had a game-leading 9 shot attempts. Slavkovsky was on, so I wouldn't have necessarily removed him just to put Demidov in, but I would have shifted things around and moved Laine. Now, Laine in the shootout, he came into the shootout at 75% this season. He ended the night at 50% because he missed. Caulfield, Suzuki, this guy was the best player in the NHL in the shootout and is suddenly on an 0-5 streak. Meanwhile, he's been so clutch down the stretch of the season. Like, how are you going with anybody ahead of Suzuki as one of your 3? Like, you gotta give him a chance. Caulfield, I like his chances in a shootout also. I thought the shootout was a less egregious thing than the power play. All that said, Marty St. Louis played Ivan Demidov 17 minutes. Marty St. Louis played Ivan Demidov 2:59 on the power play. Marty St. Louis played Ivan Demidov in the final minute of the third period with the game tied 3-3 and the Canadiens desperately needing at least 1 point and definitely needing 2 to clinch a playoff spot. And that was in spite of the fact that Ivan Demidov blew his back check on the third goal that Chicago scored. And if he had made that mistake, Roman Rodenberg would have stapled him to the bench for 3 games straight.
It's a learning moment. He made a mistake. And Caden Gooley was behind the Chicago net. And Caden Gooley was behind the Chicago net. And Lane Hudson, knowing that, was ahead of Demidov too. Okay. The game is 2-2. And Caden Gooley's behind the net. And Lane Hudson's ahead of Ivan Demidov, who makes the wrong play selection because he's forcing a shot that gets blocked by Joe Veleno. 100%.
But he also recovered and came back and was in position to be able to make that back check. And he saw Gooley next to him and figured, okay, well, he's got him. So it was a cross up. It doesn't matter. Hockey's a game of mistakes. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Okay. There's a comment here from Ryan McDonald who took issue with me. Pardon me, Eric, took issue with me when I said that Demidov has already shown me that he's a better hockey player than Patrick Laine and Yuri Slavkovsky. Ryan McDonald says, hasn't Laine been a 35-40 goal guy? But on his first shift, he showed he's a better hockey player. I like you, Tony, but that's a reach. First of all, I didn't say on his first shift. I said on his first 3 shifts, because on his second shift, he had an assist, and on his third shift, he had a goal. That's the first thing I said. So first of all, don't change my words, okay? I said bring the comment back up, please. So I said on the first 3 shifts. That's what I said. Bring the comment back up, please. Can we?
Yeah, most importantly, not to get bogged down.
Can we bring the comment back up, please?
Tony, as you wait
that everyone can see it.
As you wait for it to come up, I don't think you should get bogged down in this commentary. The bottom line is nobody's picking Patrick Laine right now to play ahead of Ivan Demidov in the lineup, and that's based on a few shifts. Nobody. There's just nobody.
Yes. So,
including the coach who played Ivan Demidov 17 minutes last night. So, and I wasn't bringing up the mistake that Demidov made to say that Marty should have benched him after that. I was bringing it up to say Marty didn't bench him after that. He played him in the final minute of a game that everything was on the line for the Canadiens. He clearly, the idea that he's got something against Demidov and didn't want to talk about it, he didn't want to talk about it because he wasn't a part of the lineup yet and he had enough to manage day to day, and he was being asked about it on game days where he's trying to prepare.
I got it.
The other guys, and I got to tell you something. Listen,
I'll buy that.
This is the real dynamics of a hockey team, of any sports team. Okay, some 19-year-old kid is being blown up to like god level proportions, while this team, which has fought tooth and nail to put itself in this position, has been through the trenches together. That is a delicate situation for a coach to have to manage. Okay,
well, it's not delicate because the players themselves realize that this kid's got something that they don't.
Yeah, but they had to see it from him. Tony. It's not good enough to watch the highlights that everybody's doing goo goo gaga over Twitter and Facebook and YouTube all year. They need to see him on the ice and be able to. And Tony, I spoke to Josh Anderson today, and I spoke to Brendan Gallagher today, and they both said, we believe Marty can do what it takes to win the game, and that he will put that player in that situation if he believes it'll help them win the game. And they believe that Ivan Demidov, having seen him live in the flesh and what he did last night, can help them win the game. So they're okay with it. They have put their egos aside. Perfect. But let's not pretend it's not a situation that Marty has to manage. It's a difficult situation. I brought up Slav for a reason, Tony. Forget about this comment from Ryan McDonald. Who cares?
Well, I didn't get to it. I haven't
Tony,
talked about it.
Who cares? Yeah. It's a silly comment. When it comes to Ivan Demidov, I brought up Slav for a reason. Slav wasn't so excited to be talking about Ivan Demidov Friday in Ottawa. But I asked him, how does it affect the internal competition? And that was a general way of asking the question. Slav knew that I was asking him how it affects him. And he showed it last night. He finally got back to playing the type of game he needs to play. And that's the type of thing that Marty's got to manage. Am I going to pull Slav off the top line when he shows up the way he did? Am I going to throw him off the top power play when he shows up the way he did just because Ivan is playing well? He's got to find a way to mix it all together. I promise you one thing, Marty, and I'm going to let you go. You go on a rant, however you want to go. Marty St. Louis wants to win tomorrow's game more than anybody in the world, and he will do whatever it takes to win it.
Pierre Maguire and Chris Nyland last night on the Sick Podcast live from Le Manoir in Pointe Claire said that tomorrow night, no more messing around. There's one game left. You got to play your best players. They got Demidov in Slavkovsky's spot on the first line with Suzuki and Caulfield. And do I think he's going to do that? I don't. Do I think they might have a shift together? I hope. Well, if Demidov's going the way he was going last night, but at the same time, I want to ask you something.
That leash is going to be short, Tony. He might start the game with Slavkovsky there, and he might start the game with Slavkovsky and Lina in the first power play unit. But I'm telling you right now, that leash is going to be super short. And I'm sure Marty's hoping he doesn't even have to pull on it. I'm sure he's hoping that the guys take care of what they do. The best players play. Hudson played a ton of minutes. Suzuki played a ton of minutes. Caulfield a ton of minutes. Slav a ton of minutes. Demidov 17 minutes. This guy wants to win, and now he knows. It's one thing to know what Demidov was based on the highlights. Now he knows. He knows what this player can do. Yeah, it's different. It's a different thing. There's a bit more information to go on to be able to pull those strings with one game left.
So now I'll go back to Ryan McDonald, who thought I was exaggerating by saying that the 3 shifts in that Demidov showed that he's already a better hockey player than Patrick Laine. And Ryan says, hasn't Laine been a 35 to 40 goal guy? Yeah, in 2017-18. I was skinny back then too. I'm not anymore. The reality is different for me, and the reality is different for Patrick Laine as far as a goal scorer and a hockey player is concerned. All right, okay. So now that we got that out of the way, that's it. I was upset about that. I was upset that he wasn't chosen. I would have made him my first shooter, but it's easy for me to say from a resto bar in Pointe Claire. I'm not the coach of the Canadiens. I think you go with your guys that are hot, and so I would have gone with him first, number one. Number two, Demidov Laine ended up on that line at one point. Can you remind me when it was exactly that Laine played his first shift with Demidov and
less than halfway through the game, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And Laine did some good things in the game last night. He did a lot of things that make you want to bang your head against the wall, but he did some good things in the game.
But even though it's not the sexiest line in the world, and even though the line was not ticking because of Yoel Armia, because that line was ticking last night because of Demidov, why would you change up a line 25 minutes into a hockey game that has an assist on their second shift and a goal on their third?
Well, I mean, there was he said from the start he was going to manage things based on offensive and defensive zone starts, situational.
But why would you though? But why? But why would you? Perfect. I repeat. Would you change something that's working? I didn't get it. Like, I don't want to pick on him here tonight. I really don't.
I think he was just coaching, man. Like, I don't think I understand. There's a balance to every single decision. It's 50-50 on every decision you make.
Okay.
Look, I thought, look, if Emil Heineman was absolutely 100%, even if he's 95%, to me, based on what happened yesterday, he'd be in the lineup over Kapanen for me. And I think Kapanen has played some good hockey here, but there's something missing in Kapanen's game, and it's a very pivotal element that Heineman brings. Kapanen has a great stick. He plays with really good pace. He's a smart player, but he doesn't hit. And if you don't hit, you can't establish a forecheck. And if you can't establish a forecheck, you are putting yourself in a situation where you got to be skating back towards your own end a lot. And that's what happened with the Canadiens last night. And I just see Heineman as a guy right now with the style of game that he brings. He hasn't been the same player since he broke his wrist getting hit by a car in Utah.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. You're right, Eric. Yeah.
He has an upper body injury and is day to day, but he is practicing, and I think he's good enough to play. And I could say that. I don't know if he is. I don't know if he's cleared by the doctors, but if he is, and he's available, I don't think it's a hard decision. And that's interesting to me because I watched practice today, and like I said, the power play units didn't change, and Kapanen was on the second one, which would indicate that there's a good chance he's going to play. So, yeah, I don't know, but like you could pick apart every single decision this guy needs to make. And I'll tell you what, Tony, if they lose tomorrow or if they don't get their objective of getting that 1 point, it will be open season on Marty St. Louis to lob that criticism at him. He will have earned it. But we should also keep it in perspective that a lot of what he has done has put them in this position to begin with, right?
You're right.
There's no debating that. There's no debating that.
No debating that. And there's no debating that with 2 weeks left in the season, if you have a 99.1% chance to make the playoffs, you have to make it. Because if you don't, it's a collapse.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Stranger things have happened, man.
Yeah.
When I was in Toronto on the weekend, every reporter I was greeted by on the Toronto side was like, so like back in the playoffs, you'll be covering playoff hockey in Montreal again. That's so exciting. I'm like, it's not done. Like, it's not done yet. And they're like, nah, it's done. It's going to be done. It's done. It's done. I said, it's not. Have you watched the way this season has gone? This season has been the topsiest, turviest roller coaster of a season, not just for the Canadiens, the entire Eastern Conference. Every time you think something is a lock and done and this and that, don't start betting on it because it's like, it's dangerous. And I am sure of this. If I took the pulse, if I was able to take the pulse of the entire Canadiens fan base right now, I feel the split might be like 55-45% of people that no longer believe versus people who believe. I think it would slant towards
really. I like their chances tomorrow night. If Carolina is going to take their top 4 players out of the lineup,
you think more than 50% of the fans feel the same way as you do, having watched Columbus run the table and the Canadiens lose these 3 games?
I think 100% of Canadiens fans believe that Columbus will definitely beat the Islanders tomorrow night.
Thursday night.
Thursday night. I think 51% of the fans believe that Montreal will be
pretty tight. It's pretty tight. It's pretty tight. Well. So that's
the only thing, that concerns everyone, I think, are 2 things. 2 things. One, this power play has gone cold at the wrong time. 2, it seems like, and by the way, it would make total sense and it would be justified. Really, it would. It would just be really normal It seems like Marty St. Louis had to squeeze the orange as much as possible to get this team in the playoffs, which meant using Nick Suzuki a lot and using Matheson a lot, and once again squeezing the orange so that he can get every ounce of juice left. And it just seems like there's little juice left in the orange. Those are the two things that I think the fan base, in terms of concerns, I think it's that. Do they have any gas left in the tank? And what about this power play? A power play that, once again, I like what Bob Hartley said earlier today on On Jase on RDS. I like what he said. He wants Demidov on the power play instead of Liney. And he wants Cole Caulfield to go back in where Liney's spot is.
I said that 3
seconds.
seconds. I said that 14 minutes ago.
Yeah. And,
Bob's a smart guy.
Yeah. No, but it makes sense to me because, it's odd.
It's such a hard decision, though. Could we discuss how hard of a decision
Liney
that is?
scoring all these goals. We see Liney scoring goals, and we say, "Oh my God, the power play is better." Statistically, it's not. The power play is not as good with Liney that it was without. There's not a big difference, by the way. We're talking like percentage.
Statistically, or not, with your own eyes, you could see he's not shooting with confidence right now. It's the one thing that he brings to the team that, like, you can somewhat count on, at least for 90% of the games that he's played. You could count on that shot is a dangerous weapon if he's able to get it off, and he gets 2 or 3 occasions a night thanks to getting power plays. It's a really hard decision to pull him off a unit in which he has produced the most power play goals. Like, he's up there in the league. Like, that's a really hard decision in game 82. And that's the type of decision. That's why I totally appreciate and understand the criticism that's part of the job for Marty. He will face criticism and he will deserve it at times. That's just part of it. But I think, a lot of people could at least have the empathy or the understanding that, like, that's how hard these decisions are. You're having to think about it like, I'd really like to put Demidov on the power play. I think the guy to pull off is the guy who has scored the most power play goals for us this year. That's not an easy it's a no-brainer for you and I, because we're not wearing those shoes and we don't have to make that call. Like, that's a really hard decision. I think you could call me crazy, but I mean, that's just a sample of the hard decisions he's got to make and make them with impunity and certainty.
So for those who are wondering, by the way, the Battle of Ontario will take place. The Toronto Maple Leafs will square off versus the Ottawa Senators in the playoffs. Should be something. Anything can happen in the Battle of Ontario, but man, if there's one year where the Leafs are like they're playing playoff hockey, it's this year. Berube has them playing incredible defensive hockey, shutting out Buffalo tonight, shutting out the Canadiens the other night. I mean, the Leafs are, if there's going to be a year where it's their year, and I know we said this before, but I think they have the coaching to do it. I really do. They had.
I haven't seen the Leafs. I haven't seen the Toronto Maple Leafs play a late season game like the one they played against Montreal since 2003. Like, I have not seen that team commit to playing in a way that would not force anything. The stuff that Marty talks about all the time, playing the right. You know what? Hockey is 125 years old, however old it is. The NHL, at least, or maybe I'm off. Hold on. The Montreal Canadiens are 100 something. Anyways, let's not get bogged down in the numbers. I think it's over a century old. The definition of playing the right way, despite all the advancement we've seen in the sport, has not changed. There is one way to play that qualifies as the right way. It's take what's in front of you. Don't feed the other team their opportunities. Wait, be patient, be opportunistic, and finish your checks and get on the forecheck and get on the back check and commit to strong defense, and you'll give yourself a great chance of winning. I have not seen Toronto give themselves a better chance of winning a late season game and a playoff style game than they did against Montreal the other night. And you said they were way better. The shot attempts even if it was 35-15 in shots, they were 57-57. The Canadiens had 20 scoring chances to Toronto's 15. They had 10 high danger chances to Toronto's 9. The Canadiens played a really good game. That's why they went 0-0 to overtime, because the Leafs were defensively phenomenal in the game. And to me, Chris Tanev is the key to the whole thing. Anyways, I don't think
Tanev is huge. He's huge. He's huge.
I don't think your fans want to hear anything more about the Leafs right now. So I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah.
But Ottawa is going to give them a run for their money, and because Ottawa, all those Ottawa fans that I offended by picking Montreal ahead of them, Ottawa did something. The one thing they proved to me, aside from being able to finish out of Montreal, was that they do know how to tighten it up. And they did it when Allmark and Zub went down, and they did it again when Tkachuk went down. And that is going to be really, if they don't do that against Toronto, they're going to get their asses kicked. So I think they know how to do it. They're going to give them a run for their money. It's going to be a great series. There's great series shaping up all over the place. The one I'm least excited about is Carolina and New Jersey, but we'll see what happens. That one, it has the potential for some serious drama. And I think Canadiens fans are really hoping that it's their team playing against the Washington Capitals, because they look like a team that can be beat right now.
Yeah, mind you, Washington's probably saying the same thing about Montreal, but you're right. Tampa Bay, Battle of Florida.
I like Tampa Bay over Florida right now, but the champs.
So do I.
I like Tampa Bay over everyone. I like Tampa Bay over everyone right now, because I think since about February that Andrei Vasilevsky has the best numbers of any goaltender in the league, including Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
Going to win the Hart Trophy this year. So, although I want to say I do get a vote, and if for whatever reason Montreal doesn't get this done and Columbus makes it, I'm going to have to think long and hard about not giving my number one vote for the Hart to Zach Werenski. I think he'd be really hard to beat.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to play St. Louis. I wouldn't want to play. There's a team that comes in every year that just gets hot. You don't want to play, and there's a team that surprises every year.
They better make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I think that team that could surprise is the St. Louis Blues. I really believe that. If they get in there,
or did they? I think they just got in. Actually, I think
they just clinched, right? I think they just clinched with their win.
No, it's Minnesota. Minnesota scored with like 20 seconds left. I've been watching this Minnesota Ducks game. Minnesota needed a point for tonight, and they scored with 20 seconds left to tie the game and just won an OT.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it gives you hope, right? It gives you hope if you're a Canadiens fan. Look what they did.
No, it's absolutely unbelievable. I think. Look, it's not final yet. It's not a final yet, but I believe the Blues with their win tonight will clinch. Will they not? Because regulation wins, they would go to 32. So if they would tie, and then they have more ROW and more wins. Yeah, I think the Blues clinch with this one. So Sammy and Daniello at Master Control, if you can just confirm the information, because I'm talking on the fly here without looking at all the answers in front of me, and we're doing it pretty fast. But anyway, the Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Bomboloni. They're known as Heaven. Yeah, go ahead.
You got the Jets and the Blues, the Stars and the Avalanche, Vegas and Minnesota, Kings and Oilers.
Blues are knocking out the Jets. It's my prediction.
It's a great.
You
know what? It's a great series for Winnipeg. It is a perfect right out of the gate, undo the misery of the last couple of chances you've had in the playoffs by knocking off the hottest team in the league down the stretch. I think it would be a heck of a win for them, but I don't know if I would bet on them to do it. More importantly,
Dallas, Colorado is going to be unbelievable. With Colorado resting everybody, by the way. They rested everybody. They rested Taves. They rested McKinnon. They rested McCarr.
So we got into
two guys that I had in my pool, of course. Yeah.
We got into almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do much on Demidov. I imagine you've been talking about him all day.
I have been talking about Demidov all day, but before we do, why don't we do this? Anderson. Let's hear from Josh Anderson on Demidov.
Honestly, it was kind of like when Lane came in here for the first couple of games that we got to see him. just the things that they're able to do. I mean, this is a very hard league, and for them to come in and especially Demi to do what he did last night, exceptional talent, and you can just see the sky's the limit for him. I know it's only one game right now, but all around the ice of him being able to do things like the way he did last night was obviously incredible to watch, and this organization's lucky to have a player like him.
Wow, there you have it. This organization is fortunate to have a player like him. Talking about Lane Hudson, and he's right when he said, and talking about Demidov now, he's right when he said, when we saw Lane Hudson, that's exactly what it was, right? It takes a while. Once the players see what you can do and you've sold them on their talent, Hudson sold them on his talent, and I think Demidov did the same thing last night, guys. Or Eric.
I mean, listen, everything I thought about Ivan Demidov before he played was completely confirmed. And what I've been saying for a long time now is that he makes everyone around him better. People were like, oh man, he's playing with Newhook and a mix of Armia and Lionel. He makes them better. He makes them all better. He makes players he's not playing with better, like Slavkovsky last night, like I mentioned. Why was this important? Not just because, he gave them a clear opportunity to get the point that they got, which is certainly valuable. Like, I know people are worried about tomorrow. At least they don't need two. They need just one. This kid, I don't think they've had a player like him in decades. It's been that long, and that's why the reaction was what it was at the airport. That's why
he reminded me of Kucherov last night. He reminded me of Kucherov.
He was really special. I'm looking for I just found it in my story from today. So that quote that quote that you just ran from Josh Anderson, was from a question that I asked him, his impression. And oftentimes when I ask a question to a player, I'm asking the question knowing what they're going to respond so that I could set them up with the next one. So after he gave that answer, I said, Josh, after seeing that, after having that confirmed, because I think all of us built this player up to a point where, like, it would be hard as a player bringing this kid in this late in the season and just believing he can actually do those things. Now that you got to see it, how much easier is it to accept the reality that he could be taking some opportunity from somebody or several people away at this juncture of the season in which he has not been a part of this whole thing? So this was his answer.
Tell me.
I think guys have to accept that, said Anderson. You have a player that's going to help you win, and we saw that last night. Obviously, every guy in this room is a big piece of where we're at. To add a player like that is going to help us win at the end of the day. Brendan Gallagher had very similar comments. And when two of the leaders of the team are able to do that, we've given Mike Matheson, another leader on the team, no matter how much shit he takes, he casts his ego aside to open the door for Lane Hudson to do what he did this year, a 65-point season. Mike Matheson was a 62-point player last year. He gave up offensive zone starts. He gave up power play time, gave up all of it with a smile on his face for the opportunity for the Canadiens to do what they are doing tomorrow night. And if Lane Hudson ends up playing 3 more minutes than Mike Matheson tomorrow and the Canadiens get a point and make the playoffs, he will be the happiest person in that room. So it's good news for Marty, because Marty, who you want to see make these gutsy calls, who already played the kid 17 minutes in his first game, now the whole team has seen what this kid can do. And that, to me, was one of the most important things that could come out of that game. It would have been better if it was a win. It came down to a shootout with Nick Suzuki ripping a puck off the post and rolling up the post and ending up. It just wasn't meant to be. It just didn't happen. What I think will happen tomorrow, I don't know if it's going to be achieved, but there's things I feel confident about. Nick Suzuki is going to show up to play. Okay, the way he's shown up every time the Canadiens have needed him. Lane Hudson's going to show up to play. Ivan Demidov is going to show up to play. Cole Caulfield's going to show up to play. And I think the Canadiens after a performance like that one against Chicago, are going to find a way to play their style of game. And what Marty has said all year is that style of game, when they execute it, it doesn't guarantee them a win, but it certainly ups the percentages of their possibilities of winning. That's what I would bet on tomorrow. I would bet they will play their game. I would bet that their best players show up. And usually that combination gets you what you want.
Sick Podcast, our partner, is giving away the chance to win an Arsenal jersey signed by the team. If you want to enter the contest, click on the link in the description and follow Betway Canada on Instagram. You have until April 21st, and the winner will be selected on April 22nd. Remember, you need to be 18 years of age and older to participate, and this only available to the people outside of Ontario. Betway, get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. I was telling you before about Bomboloni. I want to give them a shout out as well. They are known as Puffs from Heaven. And hopefully the Carolina Hurricanes are having about 100 of those right now as we speak. It's fluffy dough and rich filling, differentiated from any other pastry, available for order at bomboloniboss.com. Customers can build their box with the flavors they choose. Regular size and minis are available. Okay, Caden Gooley, one or two more clips, and we're done for tonight on learning from last night.
I wouldn't say, because Ivan came in that guys were trying to play like him, but maybe just the hype of the game and, again, the emotions of the game. Clinching scenario at home. I mean, it was sold out for warm-up, and that creeps in. And I think again, not many of us have been in this type of situation, and I think last night was good for us to kind of see that happen, and we again learn from that and be a different team tomorrow from it. So I think we'll be fine tomorrow. So
there you have it. Caden Gooley saying that the moment got to him, and learning moment for him as well, and a learning moment from the team. I loved Caden Gooley on Saturday night in Toronto. I thought he was unbelievable. On Saturday, I really, really liked him. I thought he was really good, hard-hitting, tough to play against, really stepped up, big-time leader. We know that already, but really was grabbing the bull by the horns. Yesterday, I think he went chasing. I think he went looking for something that probably should have been held back a little bit. So you don't want to tell guys not to hit. It was a huge hit, but I think he woke up the Chicago Blackhawks.
Split second decision, right? The guy turns right into him, and he decides, I'm lowering them. I'm committed. I'm going. The guy just didn't play the puck. That's it. Cost them a penalty. Their penalty kill is good enough to kill penalties. Like it didn't come through. The whole team didn't find a way to play its game. Hopefully it does that tomorrow. I believe it will play its game. I wanted to close with this because I know here we are on the precipice of Game 82, and you and I have done countless podcasts, and we will continue to do countless podcasts going into the off season. Hopefully you'll take a bit of time. I know I will. But I want to thank all your viewers for participating in this throughout the year with me. And I understand I offend some of them and I annoy some of them, and it's not my objective, but I do appreciate how the passion that you have stirred up, Tony, within the fan base. Every night doing the show, you do an awesome job. You bring the energy, the entertainment. And I'm just trying to do what I can to be objective in my analysis with everything that happens around this team. It's difficult, 82 games. I'm not always going to be on my game the way I want to be, like anybody else. We all have our days, but I really enjoy doing this, and it's fun. And I thank Sammy and Yellow for having me. And I just think this has been a hell of a season so far, and there's one game left in it and potentially some playoff coming. Canadians are in a good spot with that. So thanks to you, and thanks to all of you guys. And thanks
you,
to
Eric,
people that are watching.
Well, you've been a collaborator for several years, and it's not by coincidence. It's obviously because for me, you're a top-line player, and that's why I start off every week with you, Eric. So I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And look, I think it's safe to say you're going to work for an extra couple of weeks, an extra couple of months, and you'd rather work them watching Montreal Canadiens and covering Canadiens, I would imagine, over other series. And I'm going to be working for the next couple of months with the podcast, and it's going to be so much easier and so much more fun if the Canadiens are actually playing in the playoffs, even if it's only one round. But why don't they get into the playoffs And then once they get in, you know what Marc Bergevin used to say, right? Anything could happen. But podcast, radio, television will be so much more easier, so much more fun with the Montreal Canadiens making the playoffs. The entire city. I mean, this city hasn't celebrated much in the last 3.5 years. Let's be honest. The last time they celebrated was, when Josh Anderson scored that goal in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. And before that, the last time they celebrated was when Arturi Lehkonen had scored the overtime winner in Game 6 versus the Vegas Golden Knights. And of course, once the Canadiens were lost in the Stanley Cup Final, that following season thereafter, we know what happened. They had won only 6 of their first 23 games. Marc Bergevin got fired on November 28, 2021. Jeff Gordon was hired as executive vice president of hockey ops for the Canadiens. But a month and a half later, he hired Kent Hughes as the 18th general manager of Montreal Canadiens history. A couple of weeks after that, they relieved Dominic Ducharme of his duties. But right thereafter, they hired Marty St. Louis to be the interim head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. Finished last in the first year of the rebuild, 5th last in the second year, 5th last in the third year, which was a year ago. And this year, if they pick up a point tomorrow night, the Montreal Canadiens make the playoffs. And Eric, the most amazing thing is some teams, and I mentioned this last night, and we had the privilege and honor of being part of the broadcast on Amazon to start off their hockey coverage, was some teams takes them 8, 10, 12 years of a rebuild, and some of them still haven't figured it out. Buffalo's one of those teams. The best teams are able to turn things around and become a very competitive team within 4 years. And that's what the Canadiens have done here. Whether they win tomorrow night or they don't, they were a tough out this year. And look, I'm willing to bet anything can happen. Of course, you lose a key player. But if the Canadiens are healthy for the next 5 or 6 years, I'm willing to bet that they're going to make the playoffs every year for the next 5 or 6 years if they don't suffer huge injuries, of course, for an extended period of time. Tomorrow night, we'll see. But once again, as we started off the podcast and you said, if I would have told you before the season started that the Canadiens would play game 82 and with a point they make the playoffs, would you have taken it? I think everyone's saying yes to that. And it's going to be at home versus the Carolina Hurricanes, who have called up 4 players from their American Hockey League team.
The fans have been absolutely incredible. And if there's anybody who deserves it, it's them. You think of the last 2 seasons, Tony, standing ovations for the team that was competing as hard as it did, that Marty got them competing that way. You just know, they've been the experiences of the Bell Center this year have been electric. And I hope for the fans and for the players, they get that special things, that special thing that happens at playoff time. Like there's a whole bunch of them dying to see it for the first time in a very long time. And the players themselves have, aside from Brett and Gallagher, have never experienced it. And they think they're experiencing it right now, but we all know it's something different in the playoffs. So
it's the biggest game of the year tomorrow night. I don't know where Sammy and Yellow and myself are going to be, whether we're going to be in a restaurant, whether we're going to be in a bar, whether we're going to be outside the Bell Center, whether they're going to be on the street, or I'm going to be still here in my podcast studio out of my home. I don't know, but what I do know is at 10 p.m. Eastern, we will be on. And I don't know. I almost think that we should go on immediately following the hockey game tomorrow night, even if that's before 10 p.m. But we'll make an announcement tomorrow, I would imagine, because tomorrow night, once again, we'll end it with this. It is the biggest game of the year. Thank you, Eric Engels, and thank you to everyone watching. We'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night. 1 point, and the Canadiens are in. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.